You sit down to work. You open your laptop. You stare at the screen, and within 2 minutes, your mind is somewhere else. You're thinking about lunch, about a conversation from yesterday, about nothing in particular. You snap back, you try again, and 5 minutes later, you're scrolling, checking notifications, looking for anything that feels easier than the task in front of you. And here's the frustrating part. You know you need to focus. You want to focus, but your brain just won't cooperate. Most people think this is a willpower problem, that if they just tried harder, they could force themselves to concentrate. But that's not how focus works. Focus isn't about effort, it's about state. And your brain can't enter a focused state if it's not prepared. The good news? You can prepare it in less than 10 minutes using 6 simple exercises that reset your attention system and prime your brain for deep work. And once you understand how these work, you'll never sit down to a task unprepared again. Let me show you what I mean. Most people treat focus like a light switch. They think they can just decide to concentrate and it happens, but that's not how your brain works. Focus is more like a muscle. It needs to be warmed up, activated, and if you skip that step, you're trying to sprint before you've stretched. Your attention system has 2 modes, scattered and focused. Scattered is the default. It's where your brain wanders, jumps between thoughts, reacts to every stimulus. This mode is useful for exploration, for noticing things, for staying alert to your environment, but it's terrible for getting work done. Focused mode is different. It's narrow, deliberate, sustained, and it requires your brain to ignore distractions, resist impulses, and stay locked on one thing. But here's the problem. Your brain doesn't just switch into focused mode because you want it to. It needs a trigger, a signal that says, okay, it's time to concentrate now. And if you don't give it that signal, you'll sit there fighting your own mind for an hour, trying to force something that was never going to happen. This is why some days you can focus effortlessly, and other days you can't. It's not about motivation, it's about whether your brain is in the right state. And these 6 exercises are designed to create that state on demand. Here's a simple example. Imagine you're about to lift something heavy. You don't just grab it and pull. You take a breath, you engage your core, you position your body, you prepare, and then you lift. If you skip the preparation, you either fail or you hurt yourself. Focus works the same way. You need a preparation phase, a warm-up, and that's exactly what these exercises do. They reset your attention, clear mental clutter, and signal to your brain that it's time to work. Most people skip this step, and then they wonder why focus feels impossible. Now here's what most people misunderstand. They think focus is about blocking out distractions, so they close the tabs, turn off notifications, put their phone in another room, and that helps, but it's not enough. Because the biggest distraction isn't external, it's internal. It's the noise in your own head, the thoughts that pull you away, the impulses that make you want to check something, the restlessness that makes sitting still feel uncomfortable. And no amount of environmental control fixes that. You have to address the internal state, and this is where the mistake happens. Most people try to force focus through discipline. They tell themselves to stay on task. They guilt themselves when they get distracted. They white-knuckle their way through the work. But that approach burns energy fast because you're fighting your brain instead of working with it. And your brain always wins that fight. Here's what's actually happening. Your attention system is governed by a part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. This is the part that controls impulse, manages focus, and filters distractions. But the prefrontal cortex has limited fuel. It runs on glucose and it fatigues quickly. And when it's tired, your focus collapses. You become impulsive, distractible, unable to resist the pull of easier tasks. But here's the interesting part. The prefrontal cortex doesn't just get tired from working. It gets tired from deciding, from resisting, from managing chaos. So if you sit down to work with a cluttered mind, you're already starting with a depleted tank. You're asking your brain to focus while it's still processing 10 other things, and it can't do both. This is why focus feels so hard in the morning after a chaotic start to your day, or after a stressful conversation, or when you're anxious about something unrelated. Your attention system is already maxed out, and no amount of willpower is going to override that. So here's the solution. Before you try to focus, you reset the system. You calm the internal noise. You clear the mental clutter. You give your prefrontal cortex a break. And that's what these 6 exercises do.
So here are the 6 exercises, and here's how they work. First, controlled breathing. Spend 2 minutes breathing in a specific rhythm. 4 seconds in, hold for 4, 4 seconds out, hold for 4. This pattern is called box breathing, and it does 2 things. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which calms your body, and it forces your mind to focus on something simple and repetitive. This interrupts the mental chatter and brings your attention into the present moment. Most people skip this because it feels too simple, but simplicity is the point. You're not trying to achieve anything. You're just creating a baseline of calm. Second, body scan. Close your eyes and mentally scan your body from head to toe. Notice where you're holding tension, your jaw, your shoulders, your hands, and consciously release it. This takes about 90 seconds, and what it does is reconnect your mind to your body. Most of the time, your brain is disconnected. It's racing ahead, planning, worrying, but your body is always in the present. So when you check in with it, you anchor yourself, and that anchor is what allows focus to stick. Third, single point focus. Pick an object, a pen, a spot on the wall, anything, and stare at it for 60 seconds without letting your eyes wander. This is harder than it sounds. Your eyes will want to drift, your mind will want to think about something else. But every time that happens, bring your focus back to the object. This exercise trains your brain to sustain attention. It's a warm-up for the deeper focus you're about to need, and the more you practice it, the stronger that muscle becomes. Fourth, mental reset. Write down every thought that's bouncing around your head, not in detail, just quick bullet points. Things you need to do, things you're worried about, things you remembered. Get it all out. This takes 2 to 3 minutes, and what it does is clear your mental RAM. Your brain has been holding on to all of these thoughts because it doesn't want to forget them. But once they're written down, it can let go, and suddenly there's space to focus. Most people try to ignore their thoughts, but that doesn't work. You have to acknowledge them first, then they release. Fifth, micro movement. Stand up, stretch, shake out your arms, roll your shoulders. Do 10 jumping jacks. Anything that gets your blood moving for 30 seconds. This wakes up your body and sends oxygen to your brain, and it breaks the stagnant energy that builds when you've been sitting too long. Focus isn't just mental, it's physical, and if your body is sluggish, your mind will be too. This is the fastest way to reset both. Sixth, set an intention. Before you start working, ask yourself one question. What is the one thing I need to accomplish in the next hour? Not 5 things, 1 thing, and say it out loud. This programs your brain with a clear target. Because focus doesn't happen in a vacuum, it needs direction, and when you give your brain a specific goal, it knows what to filter and what to ignore. This is the final step, and it's the bridge between preparation and execution. Here's the mental model. Think of focus like starting a car. You don't just turn the key and floor it. You let the engine warm up. you check the mirrors, you adjust the seat, you prepare, and then you drive. These 6 exercises are your warm-up. They take less than 10 minutes total, but they prepare your brain to perform at its best for hours. And the difference between starting with this routine and starting without it is night and day. One feels like pushing a boulder uphill, the other feels like flow. So here's the key insight. Focus isn't something you force, it's something you create the conditions for. And those conditions start with a calm mind, a clear intention, and a body that's ready to work. Most people skip the preparation and wonder why focus feels impossible. But the people who consistently get into deep work don't have more willpower, they just have better routines. They reset their system before they start, and that makes all the difference. So next time you sit down to work, don't just open your laptop and hope for the best. Spend 10 minutes running through these 6 exercises. Breathe, scan your body, focus on a single point, clear your thoughts, move, set your intention, and then start. You'll notice the difference immediately. Focus is a skill, and like any skill, it gets stronger the more you practice. But it also needs the right conditions to thrive, and these exercises create those conditions on demand. So stop fighting your brain, stop relying on willpower, start preparing your mind. And if you want to learn more about how your brain works, how to build better habits, and how to perform at your best, subscribe, because this is just the beginning.